Welcome to Winning with the Burns, a podcast for highly ambitious people who have a burning desire to learn what it takes to win at a high level. Hey guys, thanks for joining us again today. I'm excited because I've got my big brother, my wingman. He is back full time. Took a little sabbatical, and we're going to talk a little bit about, him taking that sabbatical and what he's been having to go through, and then we'll talk about some other things. But Nick, welcome back, man.
Man, it's so good to be back. So good to be in a routine. It's started dealing with this back in middle of February, late February, and finally was able to drive a vehicle 2 weeks ago, or a week and a half ago. So you take for granted the little things that you can't do. I felt like I was the man being able to drive again,
Now you feel human again.
Yeah.
Feel like you can go about and do, what what we, like you said, take for granted to do, man.
Yeah.
Just simple thing is driving, not being able to drive coming off surgery.
Yeah.
But let's talk about, the stuff that you went through and you finally identified what the problem was.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what you had to go through, and then we'll talk about some other things.
Yeah. So, just us being on our phones, being at a desk all day. I was having some, neck issues, getting tight. And so I was going to the chiropractor and getting adjusted. And chiropractor kept asking me, he said, has it gotten in your arm yet? I'm like, what do you mean my arm? This is my neck. You're adjusting my neck. And he said, don't worry about it. So I never understood what he was asking until one day it got in my arm. So what was taking place was my spine, after a process of figuring out what it was, I went and got an MRI done. And I went through a couple packs of steroids. It alleviated it for a couple days. That was it. And then it would always come roaring back. So I was having just really bad, nerve pain in my arm. So it'd run down the back of my back right shoulder. It'd be in my top and bottom of my elbow, my forearm, my wrist. These two fingers were literally asleep. Like I was getting to where I couldn't even grip a pen. And went and had an MRI done, and found out my spine is narrowing. It's called stenosis, which is a fancy word for arthritis. Getting old. Getting old ain't for the faint of heart. But my spine, you got spaces. So between my C5 and 6 and C6 and 7, it was narrowing. And what's happening is it's pushing down on that nerve, which is causing unbelievable nerve pain. I mean, it was literally debilitating. I tried, like I said, they went through a couple packs of steroids. I actually did the surgical injections to where they actually go in and to free up the inflammation that was pushing on that nerve. It was a little $4,000 to do that. It lasted 2 days. And so finally I got to the source. I got to the guy. I got to a neurosurgeon up in Atlanta, Dr. John Reed. Unbelievable. First-class guy. First-class operation that he's running up there. And he said, look, you need surgery. And so what they did, they went in my neck. They used to go in the back they cut your muscles, and there's a longer recovery, but they can actually go in the front of your neck now. And they basically push everything to the side. It's a 3-hour operation. So I was fully asleep. And they went in and put 6 screws, 2 spacers, and one thing that holds it all together. It's really, really amazing what's in me right now, but immediate relief. I mean, I dealt with, having to swallow, my neck hurt the most. I mean, right here to where my esophagus was, that was actually what hurt the most. It wasn't actual surgery because it freed up my pain. So now I can grip a pen. My fingers are back awake now. And, just dealing with a little bit of other parts of my body adjusting to the hardware. But, I encourage anybody that's dealing with that kind of pain to have it. I had actually talked to several people that actually had that surgery done, and every one of them were like, hey, it was the best decision I ever made. It's a little different than back surgery. Lower back surgery, you want to wait as long as you can. It's a big-time recovery process. But with this, it's about an 85% full recovery from it, So and every day since the surgery, it's just gotten better.
Just progress. I'd love to know the surgeon and the patient that said, hey, we'll go in the front for the first time,
neck.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, that took some, testosterone to say, hey, we're going to go through the neck, and the patient saying, hey, I believe in you to do it.
Yeah.
And that's one thing, I want to get into right now is belief. So many people start something, they start a career, they start a business. They believed in that business when they first started.
Yeah.
Then they believed in themselves. And over time, what happens is you lose that edge, you lose that belief because you have to deal with the minutia of the business. You have to deal with the minutia of people. You know, you kind of get bogged down with the details, so to speak.
Yeah.
So talk about, you believed in the surgeon though, right? You believed that it was going to be the way to get you some relief, to get you back in the saddle to where you can go back and start running a business.
Yeah, I knew it was going to be some downtime. I knew it was a 6-week, before you could even drive. But it was just, the pain was so bad. And all the research I did, the people I talked to, the testimonials from people, they helped my belief because they were saying, hey, best decision I ever made. I should have done it a long time ago. One gentleman had it done twice, and because he was having other nerve pain. But it's and I asked the surgeon, I said, on the way up there before we did it, I asked him, I said, well, me and my wife were talking and figuring out, how many of these you have done. And he said, your specific surgery, he said, I'm into the thousands. He'd actually done one. I had to be there at like 7:45 in the morning. He was actually doing one when I got there, when I was in the pre-op. So like I said, mine was over 3 hours, but those guys are doing it every day. I mean, it's like us writing an insurance application, and from what he does, he's just used to doing it. You want to go with somebody that, knows what they're doing, versus somebody that's a new surgeon. It's like I got some great advice from my chiropractor. He said, look, go see a doctor that, number one, has a little gray hair. They've been doing it a long time. And don't go see somebody that's got a mortgage payment in Aspen and a mortgage payment down in Key West, that will operate on you because they need the money. Go with somebody that has been doing it a long time. They don't have to operate to make money. And just had a lot of confidence in this guy. He was very thorough. He was a numbers guy. He gave me all the percentages. And I just looked at him. I said, do I need it? Do I really need this surgery? He said, absolutely. It was very convincing. So the pain was telling me I needed something. I had tried it all. I mean, I had people giving me all sorts of advice of what to take. I was trying it all. I even ordered ivermectin, and I was taking it, and it was giving me some relief for a little while,
Lion's mane.
I mean,
gabapentin, you name it.
Yeah, none of that. None of the meds worked. None of the medications for nerve pain, put a dent into it. But some of the other stuff, it alleviated a little bit. But I didn't want to take that the rest of my life. I wanted to go ahead and get it knocked out.
You definitely don't want to nickel and dime when it comes to your body.
Absolutely.
Years ago when we used to travel a lot, and I had someone say, when you get on the plane, make sure the pilot's got gray hair. Yeah. And I was like, what does that have to do with anything? They said, that's wisdom.
Yeah.
They've landed a few times. They've took off a few times. So make sure you go with someone that's got some experience.
Yeah, I was talking to my son about a situation just yesterday with the relationship, and he was like, well, how do you know? I said, I've been at this thing for a while. It's called experience. And especially in our business, you want to be around people that have been there, have done that, and can unconsciously reel off things that they've been through before. There's a powerful thing called experience. It's just, you have to go through it sometimes.
Well, we're glad you're back. The business is glad you're back. Yeah. And, I had someone tell me, they said, JB, if you just maintain the business, you don't have to grow it, just maintain, because there's a lot of people out there in business right now that wish they were maintaining.
Yeah.
Because some businesses aren't going so well for people. And they said, if you just maintain till Nick gets back, then y'all can focus on growth. I was like, well, yeah, I can do that now.
Yeah. Well, it's exciting, man. You feel alive when you have a purpose to wake up to every day. And I'll tell you, man, I have so much more sympathy now for people that, mine was nothing. I say nothing. It was a lot of pain.
It was a lot to you, though.
Yeah, a lot to me. But people that are really going through things, that are really physically sick, I have a heart, so much more sympathy now for those individuals, because it's debilitating. It's not debilitating just from a physical standpoint. Man, your mind. When you wake up every day and you're not going anywhere, and all you're going to be doing is laying around, it can have your mind wandering, having something to wake up to every day, having a hope, to wake up to every day there's something about that.
That's right. That's right. Well, let's get into a little bit today about, really kind of, I'll call it some things that people can work on to really get to where they want to go. And that starts with number one is setting a goal and a standard in your life. Most people never get what they want because they truly don't know what they want.
Yeah.
You know, they say they give these blanket statements like, I like to make X amount of dollars. I like to do this. Like, if you and I right now were going to go eat somewhere, we've got to know exactly what restaurant to go to. Otherwise, we just pull out of the parking lot. Do we go north? Do we go south? Do we go east? Like, you have to know where you want to go. So you got to set the goal and a standard in your life.
Yeah. You know, and like, you're going to hit goals sometimes. Sometimes you're not. You know, that's why it's always good to have a big goal to chase after, because you'll get somewhere on that. But it's got to be something that's truly measurable. You know, I got my mother-in-law. She's not overweight. I mean, she may have put on some pounds, and I doubt she listens to this, but she may have put on some pounds, but she's not overweight. But she's always like, I can't lose weight. You know, I want to lose weight, but I like ice cream at night. You know, she really don't want to lose weight.
No.
You know, you'll know when somebody really wants something is when they chase after it with all their well-being.
Well, you put off your pleasure and desires, and you start focusing on your purpose and duty.
Yeah.
If you truly want to do something. But you said something about having measurable, and the old acronym SMART. Everybody knows the acronym for SMART: goals, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time targeted. Like, you got to put a time stamp on it. That's Otherwise, you'll just kind of float out there in business, float out there in life of, well, one day I'll get there. One day, like, you need to put on your calendar, this is the date we're going to do this.
Yeah, it gives you a clear picture.
Yeah.
Of what you're actually chasing after, you know. That's why the scoreboard, you know, matters. That, you know, people that are watching games, people get so excited and they're so engaged, whether it be a baseball game, football game, basketball game, because at any given moment you can look up and see what the scoreboard, right? You know how good or how bad you're doing based on what the scoreboard is, you know, and that's why whatever you're chasing, have it written down, have a picture, a clear picture of what it is that you really want, and then have actionable items along the way to get to where you want to go.
You know, setting goals in your life don't change your life, but going out and executing and going to it, and that helps with number 2, is that's creating a routine. You've got to create a routine. You got to have a schedule and a regiment that you stick to, because what I have learned is if I have a schedule, I can predict my results.
Yeah.
If I have a schedule, there's non-negotiables to where I create my life. Life doesn't happen to me because I have my schedule, and I'm sticking to my schedule, and I'm not going to let anything mess up my schedule because I put it on my schedule. It's part of my routine because I know the results that I'm looking for. Yeah. I can predict them by that routine.
Yeah. You know, you talk about a routine. When we'd go in early and to a Hawks basketball game, and we'd go in a couple hours early and be able to watch the teams warm up. And when I say watch the teams warm up, I'm not talking about the whole team coming out. I'm talking about individuals. So we got to see KD come out. We got to see Steph Curry come out. We got to see LeBron come out. And what was eye-opening to me was the routine that they went through. It was like they didn't have they were always with whether it be a trainer or a shooting coach with them, but they knew what to go to after each step they went through. It was like methodical. So they go through that routine every night, you know, whether, you know, they probably played in, you know, New York the night before, flew to Atlanta, you know, that late that night, got in, and they go through that same routine every day. The greats, all the greats have routines. You know, the old saying is, you know, amateurs let life get in the way. A professional is going to stick to a schedule, stick to a routine.
You got to learn to master the mundane.
Yeah.
You know, doing that routine. You know, you talk about Steph Curry and you see him shoot half-court shots. Like, you see his highlights on ESPN. He's shooting a half-court shot. He's shooting a shot from the rafters. He don't start with that routine by shooting from there. He starts with one basketball, two basketballs. Yep. He starts under the goal, backs up 5 feet, shoots, backs up. He just progressively does that. But he has that routine that he sticks to, and I'm sure that trainer there is holding him accountable. That's what professionals do. They want people to critique them. They pay for criticism.
That's exactly right. Yeah, even those crazy shots you'd see him make, he was doing those actually in warm-ups. You know, so it wasn't just luck. You know, he was coming off the ball and awkwardly throwing the ball up. You know, what looks like throwing it up, but he was practicing those shots.
Well, you know, and then number 3 I want to get into is getting over your fear. So many people are just scared to death to fail. You know, they you know, some of these people talk about, I don't want to take the last shot. I don't want to take the last shot. You know, talk about, we're in the basketball. We're talking about basketball now, but talk about Michael Jordan, how many times he missed the last shot, how many times he failed. that's why you think he is successful, because of he's went through enough failure. People are afraid to fail.
Yeah. There's, I think there's a big difference, in doubt and fear.
Yeah.
I think there's a big difference. I think you got to get over fear. Like you have to, and to be successful, you've got to get over fear. The doubt, I take that back. You've got to get over your doubts. You're always going to be fearful of things, right? And it's, what does the Bible say? It says, fear not. How many times does it say fear not? Over and over and over again. It's just something that it's a constant fight. I don't care what situation you're in. You're always going to have something you're going to be battling. You're either going into a storm, in a storm, or coming out of a storm. That's the three phases of life you're always going to be in. I don't care how much money you got in the bank, how in shape you are, how healthy you are, no matter what stage in life you're at, you're always going to be either going into a battle, in a battle, or coming out of one.
That's exactly right. And talking about the fear of failure is we think we shouldn't have problems.
Yeah.
We live in the Instagram world. We live in to where you only see the finished product. It's like when you see, let's just take a restaurant, and a restaurant owner, he's doing well and all that stuff, and he makes it look easy because he's been through so much failure and he's been through so much crap. He makes it look easy. And it's like, oh, I can start a restaurant, but you didn't see the backstory of the stuff he went through, where the truck didn't show up, where the help didn't show up, where he had to do this, like all these things, these problems that he had to overcome. You got to look at you got to learn to fail fast and learn from it, because failure leaves the feedback of what you need to work on.
Yeah, you're going to fail. Whatever it is you try. I was thinking back today of this coming up in 2 weeks, August the 1st is my 20-year anniversary. I'll be headed into my
we're getting old.
21st year in this business. And just looking back at, how I was early on, I was scared to death. I couldn't speak to people, but I knew that I was led to this business. I had prayed, gotten permission to quit my job to get into this business. I knew this was the business for me, and I didn't want to fail. I failed during it, but I've never had a moment in this business. A lot of people say, well, I've quit over and over. How many times have I quit? I never thought about quitting this business. Have I been in seasons where I was, had so much doubt, right? Have I been in seasons where I was, paralyzed by fear? Absolutely. But I've never, wanted to quit this business, because what else was I going to do? This business has been good to me. But just looking back at when I first started and how unpolished I was, and still, I'm still growing every single day. I think if you ever get to a point where you think you've got it figured out, watch out. You're in trouble. If you think you've got something whooped, watch out. There's always something to learn. There's always an opportunity to get better. Always be growing.
When I was riding horses 20-something years ago, I had an old farmer tell me, he said, Jonathan, the moment you think you know everything there is to know about whatever you're doing, that's when you need to quit.
Yeah.
He said, that's when you ceiling out. That's why you will never progress or learn anything. And that goes hand in hand with our next topic point, is always be willing to learn.
Yeah.
Is how do you learn? What in industry are you in where you can learn? I'm always a big proponent of associating with the right people. So many times we think that, you hang out with people and it's, oh, well, they can help me, this and that. Well, sometimes people talk you out of what you're trying to do. They'll plant seeds of doubt in you. So I'm associating with the right people that can help me learn whatever it is I'm doing.
Yeah, you're going to be, whether you like it or not, what you're associated around. I unfortunately, have gotten in a habit now of dropping the F-bomb. I'll drop it left and right. But before, I would never drop it. And I go on a hunting trip with some good friends once a year, and we'd go out to Kansas, and it's always dropping the F-bomb. And I'll never forget, man. One morning I was going to my stand, and I tripped up, and I was like, "Fuck." I was like, "What I just do? I don't never say that." But what it was I was around it. You're gonna talk like you're around. You're gonna be what you're around, whether you like it or not. Show me 3 intellectual people, you'll be the 4th. Show me 3 people that are succeeding, I'll show you the fourth. If you show me 3 dumb folks, you're going to be the fourth dumb person in that group.
Yeah, and it's not really dumb folks. It's people that have no ambition. It's people that they're the negative Nellies that sit around. They talk about solving the world's problems, but they never move.
Yeah.
They talk about, hey,
Which is dumb.
Which they, well, exactly. They
Which is dumb.
They look at every situation, and they're going to find the negative in every situation. They're going to find the problems. Yes, there's problems in everything you look
100%.
at, but that problem is an opportunity.
Yeah,
it's a wall that I can run through. I can go around. How can I figure out how to get through that wall? Because guess what's on the other side of that? There's opportunity and there's success on the other side.
That's exactly right. There's opportunity everywhere, but most of them are disguised as problems. And just it's about attacking those problems and getting to the other side. Storms are going to come. I mean, especially down here in the South. I mean, ever since January, we've had down here in Georgia, we have had so many storms come through. I mean, you can look up, and man, it'd be the darkest of clouds, and then 20 minutes later, blue skies. You just got to get through it.
You got to get through it and never quit. And that's my last topic I want to talk about is never quit. So many people get 3 feet from goal. So many people get so close from having a breakthrough, and they just quit on themselves. They doubt, they quit on themselves, and then they label themselves as failure. And I've seen people, Nick, years ago, they do very well in something, and then all of a sudden problems happen, storms happen, and then they just quit.
Yeah.
Instead of pushing through and getting on the other side, they just quit.
Yeah, kids are a great example of that. I mean, you see little kids. We had some friends back in the day. Their kid was nonstop. Always, they come to our house and he'd always ask for a snack. We didn't care. I mean, we got a pantry full of snacks. Get whatever you want. But the dad or mom would say no, 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 and the kid kept on, and he kept on, and eventually, what happened? They gave in and said yes. Kids are resilient, and we should be that same way. We should have a childlike faith. Whatever it is we're doing is just never giving up. Always looking for that next breakthrough, always looking for that next thing to go to the next level,
Well, this morning we were doing a call and we were talking about being resilient and, being persistent. And you brought up the analogy about here in LaGrange where there's a lot of people that are panhandling.
Yeah.
A lot of people that are, trying to get a fix. And now some of them are homeless and they really need help, but a lot of them are just, for lack of a better word, they're just crackheads.
Yeah.
They're looking for money to get a next fix. And watching those people, they show up every day. Mm-hmm. They're out there, they're doing something because they know that life is a numbers game. They know if they get enough no's, somebody's going to say, you know what, I'll help you out.
They have no job, no cash flow whatsoever, no money, but they're always getting their fix. How is that? Right?
They never quit.
They're looking for it, and they don't stop. Imagine if we could put that same thought process in what it is that we really want. If you had that clear picture, that compelling why, that purpose in your life of what it is that you really want and fought for it, like a crackhead really fought for their next fix, what could we do in life? We could do anything we want because we see the same ones over and over and over. It's so unfortunate. It's so sad, but there's something to learn from that. They're getting their fix every day because they're not stopping, because they have that, it's that addictive personality that they have to have it and they get it. And what if we flip that? What if we flip that to really chase after our dreams and goals?
Well, it doesn't matter what you know, it's what you execute.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that I'll talk to just in general, friends and stuff. They can tell me everything about everything, but they don't go execute.
Yeah.
They don't go do anything. They just sit around and do something. And I wrote a quote down here that General Patton years ago said, an active mind cannot exist in an inactive body.
Yeah.
You got to go execute. You got to move. You can't sit around and wait for it to come to you. You have to actually go out and fight for what's yours.
Yeah. Hope isn't a strategy. It's not going to come. It's not just going, your ship's not going to come by. I hope I win that Powerball coming up tonight. But
I got to play it. I don't even play it.
Yeah,
I gotta play it now.
I play it when it gets big like this, but your ship's not going to come by. You got to go execute.
Well, you got to stay focused and execute. Some people can get motivated for 2 to 3 months. Some people can get motivated for 2 to 3 years, but a bona fide winner somebody that is willing to bet on themselves, someone that says, I'm not going to quit until I get what's mine, can stay motivated until they win, or 30 years, however long it takes for them to go out and win.
I think it's a thinking man's game. Business is a thinking man's game, but you can't overthink it. Like, we've got a brand new agent in yesterday that had leads. I work leads that are, a couple of days old. Max, they're a week old, right? I'm on what they call A leads. But this agent, brand new, doesn't have a lot of cash to invest in leads, is working leads that are older. Some of these leads are a year. Some of these leads are close to 2 years old. Had a huge day yesterday, right? Because why? He had a desire. He followed the system. He went to work. He wasn't overthinking, oh, man, this lead is 18 months old. Man, they're not going to buy. I can't help them out, right? He's green. You don't know what you don't know. Same thing with another brand new agent in here. Small investment in leads for the first time, right? B and C leads that are close to a year old. She's booked 7 appointments in an hour and a half today. We always say, if you could just take, when you first start something, if you could take that, and over time, when they go through a tough time, if you can take that and just give them a little taste of how they were when they first started in something. Think about how excited you were when you first started whatever endeavor it is that you're in. Think about how excited you were about, dreaming about, your dream job. Well, if you could take that when tough times come, that's why you talk about the mundane. Man, if you can get through the mundane, I think 85+% they say of life is mundane. It's just stuff that is everyday stuff. You're sleeping, you're eating, you're brushing your teeth. It's the boring stuff. But if you can master the mundane, you can have big results.
It goes back to what we started with, and that's the belief and the purpose. You started something. You believed you could do something. You had a purpose when you first started, and then you let life beat you down.
Yeah.
And that's what happens with a lot of people in our industry. They let experiences beat them down.
Yeah.
But when we have a new person come in, ignorance on fire is better than knowledge on ice.
Yeah. I had when me and my wife Amy first got married, we sat down with the preacher that married us, and he drew God in the middle. And then on one side he wrote Amy, and he wrote one side he wrote Nick. So we had God in the middle, because he asked us, obviously you guys are believers and believe in God. He said, do y'all love each other? Like, yeah, absolutely love each other, right? You know why? We're getting married, all right? So he wrote the word love down, Love. All right, so Nick and Amy, they love each other. You got God in the middle. We said, over time, your wife smarted off to you, right? Nick didn't pick up his clothes. Nick hollered at Amy. This happened, and just started making all these marks. Well, all of a sudden, Nick and Amy want to go and we want a divorce. We don't love each other no more. You can't see love because of all the stuff that's happened, right? And his example was the love is there. It's still there, but it's covered up with the crap, the stuff that's happened in life. And he said, obviously you want to keep God the center of it and keep that love always fresh. I mean, marriage is tough. Especially when you got a bunch of kids, it can be very tough.
It's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah. But it was just a great example, and I'll never forget him giving that is, focusing, having him in the middle of your relationship, keeping that love alive.
I love it, man, because you had a yearning for something. You had a love for something. You had a passion for something. You had a desire and a purpose that you set out to do in life.
Yeah.
And to your point, maybe that spark that you had got covered up. That ember just got covered up right now. So I encourage anybody right now out there, Nick, that says, you know what? I did have a purpose. One time I did quit on myself. Go back, revisit that purpose. Yeah. Have that conversation with that person who you started to believe in, and that was yourself. Go back and have that conversation and says, you know what? We're going to knock the crap off of this. I'm going to throw some gas on this, and I'm going to go out and win.
Yeah.
We're going to do this for our family.
That's good.
I'm excited that you're back in the saddle. Yeah. Appreciate you.
Yeah, it's time to roll up sleeves and go at it.
That's it, man. Well, guys, we appreciate you visiting with us today. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. We'll see you guys next time.